Hi, I'm Chelsea. Most of you know me. This is the Coffee is for Closers podcast, and we are also streaming live on LinkedIn. I am here with an amazing guest today. His name is Joseph Keith. You might have seen him on LinkedIn. He blew up seemingly overnight on the platform. Keith, say hello.
Hi.
Today we want to have a conversation about AI and also just leadership in general. Joe has a really unique story. I met him last year. We did a little work together. He's a former CRO, now founder, and we're just going to jump into the conversation. So say hello, let them know what you're doing now and who you are.
Yeah, so Joe Keith, I'm actually founder of the Hive Mind AI. It's just a collection of AI solutions that we've actually worked to build a community around. And building that community up, we're actually striving to provide additional services to a lot of AI developers who have issues with scaling and with building ethics and compliance into their solutions. So to allow them to kind of focus on doing what they do best and really focusing on their technology and taking their technology further.
Yeah, I was really excited when you launched this company just because I know you and I know how much you love AI, and it seemed like a really good fit. What got you here and how did you get into AI?
So that's kind of a long journey. Mm-hmm. I'll give you kind of the abridged version of it. I really took on to the iPhone when it came out in 2007. So there again, I always have this thing like ABC, right? Or practice your ABCs. So like always be curious. Right. And that's what I was, back in the day in, 2007 to 2010 timeframe. I personally developed over 10 applications. My company developed over 40, over that course of time. We kind of sort of got acquired by BGT through kind of some lofty acquisitions. But nonetheless, BGT got acquired by PwC, which took me from doing these individual applications to building these enterprise applications, to managing projects at scale, and to doing things that not a lot of smaller developers get to experience because, it's a whole different world.
Yeah. So your background was development, right?
My background started in sales, went to development, and then kind of centered around three things once I started getting into enterprise software, right? And those three things are, of course, how much profit can we make or what kind of revenue can we bring to the table? A decrease in expense or an increase in efficiency.
Okay, makes sense. So when I met you, you were a CRO, and that's how we ended up working together. How did you go from that, going into the development side, to then becoming a CRO of a major logistics company?
So with my time at PwC, I got the opportunity to work for, like I said, a lot of major companies, and ended up being an interim head of product at Office Depot, where I really got to kind of like stretch my skills as far as focusing on, increasing efficiency, driving revenue. It allowed me to work on some crazy projects, multi-channel projects across, devices, channels, brick and mortar even, to kind of bring that experience together. And that kind of led me into driving a lot of revenue for Office Depot because we took them from a solely product-based company to a product and service-based company, where they started offering small business solutions to a lot of your, SMB, type customers. So that kind of started the transition, and that ended around like 2018. It was a 3-month project that ended up being almost 3 years. Wow. And that's kind of where that transition started. Really didn't even have the title or even the thought of CRO at that point in time. But that's where it kind of started and went to develop from there.
It's a good trajectory. So I just did a post recently about this, but I see a lot of CROs who end up going out on their own. And, I've worked fractionally as a CRO as well. And I think there's something in us when we are CROs where we're growth oriented, we're good at rolling our sleeves up and doing whatever in the business needs to get done to drive revenue. And that segues really easily into owning your own company and building your own team because you've led one, you've grown one, and then at some point you decide, okay, no, now I want to do this for myself. I'm sick of making other people millions. Like, let's go. And you hit that point. So now what you're doing, can you explain it for maybe someone in the audience who isn't as tech savvy and doesn't have your background?
Yeah, so basically we created a home for small developers.
Okay.
To come in to not only continue to get educated within AI and continue to enhance their service and build a community of AI developers and contributors that can, talk and kind of be a part of this community, but we provide them with solutions to help them scale, compliance, security. We have code of ethics that you have to actually go through, and then we provide this to our customers on the other side. So our customers can be small customers to large customers, but gives these developers the chance to reach a bigger audience than they would normally through their solutions.
Absolutely.
Now, what that means for our clients, though, right, and the people that actually use the product, well, they get a connected AI experience, right? It's not just one solution. It's many solutions that are all functioning as one, right? So it's really easy for somebody that's looking to enhance their sales in a particular area where they may need a multitude of bots, right? Of, AI technologies, one that may be able to handle email or communication, another one that can handle the analytics piece, one to handle the business intelligence where it goes and it provides the recommendations, right? To provide a full connected experience where you have a bot that not only sends out emails, but learns from its own mistakes.
Yeah, that's important. Now, your clients, your main clients, you have the developers and the community for them. If you were to take on another company, let's say they had employee size of 200 employees, revenue around 20 to 50 million a year, how could you best support them with what you're doing now?
See, that's actually that $2 to $50 million mark is the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Because there again, going back to like revenue operations and the background of revenue operations, right? A lot of people in revenue operations are brought in at a couple of phases, right? One, it's, okay, I don't quite have investment yet. I'm in that, right at $1 million to $2 million range, and I need to kind of get out of my shell, or I know that I can do more, right? So going from growth to scale, right? And then there are those that are already in scale, but have hit that $25 or $30 million mark, but that are VC backed, because 99% of companies that even seek VC, right, don't get it, right? It's that 1% that get it. And that 1% need to have that trajectory to 100 million. Because if they don't have that trajectory to 100 million, people are going to lose interest really quick. And when they go to that, second round of funding or third round of funding, they're not going to be able to, round up enough investors to be able to bring in interest to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you feel like with what you're doing now, if you went into a company that was, I see them plateau at different points. Like there's this weird plateau at 7-8 million as well. Well, let's say you went into a company, they're at like 10 million, smaller, but in the growth stage, they're not VC backed. It's all organic. They grew this on their own. What I usually see is these companies are like piecemealing different AI tools, different softwares. They still are doing things manually. Do you kind of come in and review what's happening? Because you told me too, like you can have these programs communicate with each other at a certain point, which is really interesting because right now things are being siloed when it comes to these AI programs.
Well, a lot of times the reason is your average company has somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 different disparate systems that do all these different things.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing about, understanding the whole revenue side of things is you understand how to tie things together. Right, we already know, what tools we're using in marketing, what we're using for sales, for demand generation, for lead generation, for customer experience. Right, we already know that all of these experiences can be connected together, and we know how they connect together. Well, having access to the number of AI solutions that we do, right, and the developers that we have access to, allows us to quickly tie these together. And then once we tie them together, we can get them reporting to each other, right? One of the most scary parts, at least my wife would say, one of the most scary parts, right, is that we actually have bots that talk to bots without the need of human intervention, right? And with these bots communicating with the right tools, you're still going to need a little bit of governance, right? But with the right tools, you can have them making decisions on their own and then reporting back to you what decisions they made.
Right, because they're intercommunicating, they're learning and growing from one another, and then providing advice. So you get, like you said, it's like a beehive, and that's where the name Hive came from, because
Correct.
it's all of these parts communicating together, which is really, really cool. So when we were working together, I was helping you a bit with just like LinkedIn and social media, reviewing cold email, little things. We did have this conversation about AI, because you are obviously all about AI, and I was too. So my company originally started as a lead gen company. We were using AI and automation very early on, 2020, 2021, using programs like Mailstand, Lemlist, Line, all these tools that no one even used before, because they weren't popular back then. Now everyone's caught on, and I feel like it's kind of backfired a bit with the AI agents. So doing the outreach at scale using AI, people can kind of see through it these days. They can feel it, and their flight or fight is on, and they reject it, repel it. They don't want to engage in conversation. They don't book calls because of it. So I personally think there's a place for it to run in the background, but you have to find that balance. How do you feel about it? Because we definitely have different viewpoints when it comes to AI.
So yes, there is still a balance that you have to, especially if you're using a platform like LinkedIn, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is about connection. I only started my journey roughly 90, 100 days ago. And, coming from PwC, I'd been in that world for so long, like every contact that I had on LinkedIn was somehow connected to a project that I worked on, right? Met face to face and worked with almost all of those contacts. Well, since then, I'm in mid 2000s, give or take, or early 2000s, mid 2000s. But a lot of it has been these authentic connections, like you and I have connected, right? Other people, other members of other communities that I've connected with. A lot of the people I've been a part of, something either like a podcast or, some part of a community where they encourage like contribution. And I think at that point in time, you may automate some of the initial connections, but if you're truly connecting with your audience, right, you're connecting, like you're involved in kind of even some of their day-to-day stuff that they're doing, which has allowed me to not only grow connection or not only grow my network, but grow it quickly, but grow it to where, I'm interacting with people daily. A lot of people a part of our community came to our community because of it, and because of the outreach. And we're just getting started.
Right. Yeah. When it comes to big companies, how do you feel about the sales team using a lot of AI for their outreach? Like, do you think that individuals should let it run in the background, and then each individual salesperson should building a brand on LinkedIn and doing the outreach themselves after the connection request is sent?
So I would say it depends on exactly how you want to run the company, right? And there again, depending on the staff and the workload that you have. Right now at the Hive, we do a lot of stuff, automated, with some personalizations to it, at least to an appointment setting standpoint, right? Because we're only right now 4 outside of our community. So, we're having to kind of wear multiple hats. It's hard to have a lot of those conversations, at least daily. So we are automating a lot of it. But at the same time, if you have staff that can go along with it, I would say use it as more of like a hybrid model,
Right.
Only because it's going to amplify your efforts. And they're going to use it. I always say this, if you're going to go into a partnership as a business, go in with a partner that complements all of your weaknesses. So understand what your weaknesses are and develop automated solutions around your weaknesses.
Smart.
So that you can continue to focus and lean into your strengths.
Yeah, I agree with that. Actually, just from running businesses on my own, I realized a long time ago, you can't do everything. And
Right.
You need to be really good at what you're really good at, and you need to outsource the other things. And whether that's another human or AI, that's the best business model if you want to scale. With LinkedIn specifically, I love the hybrid model. With social selling in general, I use a hybrid model. And when it comes to building outbound processes for different companies, that's how I've always ran it as well. Something that's really interesting, though, is that you built your account on LinkedIn and your personal brand in around 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
When I first met you, I thought you had been posting for a while just because your formatting was correct, your content was on point. I mean, the LinkedIn algorithm is really hard to master, and most people don't know how to just create content that's optimized for the algorithm from day one. So any tips, tricks, like how did you know? How did you know how to do this?
So there's a lot of programs out there. There's a lot of YouTube videos. There's a lot of people that are doing it right. Mm-hmm. Granted, there's a lot of people that are doing it right, but you can tell when it's automated. Yeah. Right? But it's really kind of finding what works for you. And the biggest thing that got me started is because I had worked at PwC for so long and because I had been involved like with all of this, the revenue operations and kind of getting everything set up from the ground up, I had hundreds, if not thousands of pages of just raw content, and was able to kind of quickly turn that raw content. And there again, I've used AI to at least to structure my content. But I can feed it thousands of pages of content for it to give me what I need back. Mm-hmm. So I mean, as long as you have the right stuff to feed it, and the right information to feed it, you can actually tailor it to where it'll give you at least something back where you can edit and kind of configure, to fit your message and your need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But how did you know how to write? Like, because there's a specific format that works on LinkedIn, which is the hook with a rehook. Those hooks need to be short, less than 8 words. Listicles, right, in ascending order, not wrapping text, 2 to 3 sentences max, things like that, 20 to 30 lines. How did you know? Like, how did you know, even if you spit in your content into ChatGPT, how did you know how to format the posts?
There again, I've been I watched, I listened for a little bit.
So just mimicking what was working?
I kind of read, there's tons of like training videos out there. I think you have a program, even a free program.
I do, yeah.
That, I guess the rehook, I didn't kind of have down until I kind of watched your program.
Really?
Yeah, the hook rehook part.
Helped.
But I had watched other, other people and how they had kind of broken out content and written. I also, there again, started to mimic content that I was reading and consuming. And what I was reading and consuming, because, I'm sitting in a weird spot, so I'm bootstrapped, but I'm also looking for funding, right? Mm-hmm. So playing in those worlds, you're playing with a large group of, large audience, right? Mm-hmm. So I go back and forth between long text articles and very dense and heavy, information on investments and where to invest and how to invest. And, it's really dense and heavy content to kind of this light marketing content that is quick and easy to read, and being able to kind of bridge between the two of those and bring out something to where, hey, I can learn, I can get insight from this, but it doesn't have to be a bore to read.
Right.
Is really kind of what shifted me into the other form of content, because if you go back 4 months, you're going to find some long dense, heavy formatted content that, because I come from a world where, especially PwC, even some of the presentations that they have are really dense, needed in some scenarios, but really dense. Yeah,
and that that does have its place. I think from building credibility, writing those articles for people that want to consume the long form content, and even like I do YouTube videos, and I'm going to be doing more of them. That's long form for people that are ready to really learn. Even like podcasts, this is long form, right? So I think it definitely has its place, but those short, snippy posts, that are educational and entertaining at the same time, those are great just for capturing the audience. Now, there is this idea, and I'd love your feedback on it, that VCs will start backing creators. So founders who have a community built online, school communities, go high level communities, and also communities on social like LinkedIn, even Instagram. What are your thoughts? Do you think they'll ever back companies based off of the following that they're able to generate, even if it's a service-based person or a service-based company?
Yes, I would say it's going to get there, right? Even a part of the go-to-market strategy that we have, as a part of the Hive, includes a lot of LinkedIn. Yeah. Right. Includes a community that is going to be built from people on LinkedIn and people out of LinkedIn too. But, we have there again, our footprint's getting larger on LinkedIn. So, that's kind of our initial outreach. Also, LinkedIn is a lower cost. It's not a no cost, because trust me, I've tried the no-cost route. LinkedIn, they're still a company, so they don't quite like that. But so I've tried that route. But yes, they're still going to focus on the people that are actually conducting a business, though. Because in the VC world, especially VCs, now private investors, angel investors, different story. Mm-hmm. You can actually get synced up and get together with a few investors that aren't a part of a VC, and they might be able to ignore some of the stuff that you don't have in your data room, right? But if you're really talking to a VC, you're going to have a good pitch deck, a financial model. You're going to have, make sure that, and there's a lot of data rooms that you can just Google data room and download different files and templates and folder structures. You're still going to want to have that information.
Mm-hmm. I think it's been really hard over the years. I mean, I know it's been hard over the years because VCs, PE firms, they don't back really service-based businesses. So they won't back, let's say, an agency, a marketing agency, a consultant, or a consulting firm. Like, they really want a product. And to have that shift would be really interesting. And also to have it shift towards people who have the following, right? Because that's where the dollars are. If you have a following and you're using it the right way, you can drive a ton of revenue for whatever business you want. Like, I teach teams how to leverage LinkedIn now so they can build a brand, build a pipeline, close deals on LinkedIn. They can work it into their sales process. But if my following and my community is big enough, I could do anything. Like, I could sell T-shirts, right? So I become the revenue driver as a personal brand, which is interesting to me. But I don't know, VC firms, PE firms, they've never invested in that. So when you're going out now and you're trying to raise funding, what are some of the things you're leaning into? And are you talking about the fact that you've been able to build up a brand for yourself and draw attraction and drive deals through your own brand?
So yes, and like I said, that's a part of my overall revenue model, right?
Yeah, you're going to market.
It is, and there again, being able to build a community, right? So our community is our community of developers. Like, a lot of people are trying to get this supernatural intelligence, right, by themselves. Mm. Well, see, our goal is we don't want to do it by ourselves, right? Why not build the infrastructure where the developers, can come in and feel supported and be supported to scale, but we can all reach it together, right? All of these developers are doing all of these little things very well independently. Mm-hmm. They sometimes just lack the knowledge and skills to scale and be compliant, and it's expensive. Like, if you SOX compliance or ISO compliance, 50, 75, 100 grand, it costs a lot of money to become compliant.
Yeah.
So there again, that's where some of our VC funding and stuff is geared towards, is becoming compliant, so we can now offer these and offer these services, these AI services at scale to enterprise level companies. Mm-hmm. So going at the fact of LinkedIn is that's what helps us build that community, right? And that's a large part of it. Now, the way that we've started to build a buzz around that is getting into these VC firms that have these incubators, which there's only 5 or 6 of them right now that actually offer incubators. But they have these services where they'll bring you in and they'll work with you in building all of your foundational stuff to get prepared to get in front of investors. Gerald Duran has one with Canaan Global. There's Sequoia has one now. There's a few individual funded. I know that even Wells Fargo has one that they've started recently where they have kind of a venture capital kind of fund management type, incubators where they actually provide education and mentorship along with the service. Now, are they free? Some are free or low cost, right? Mm-hmm. Others cost of a laptop, so not bad at all. No. So I would say use it for education, soak up as much as you can. I was never one to embrace education past high school. I went to a few semesters of college and stuff like that, but I had opened a company doing some different audio video stuff at that point in time. There again, I thought I knew everything in my 20s and failed miserably, but still. It led and opened doors to opportunities that I wouldn't have had normally. But I've gotten to where I am today just because of my ability to pick up and learn things really quickly. but also like mimic things. Like, yes, I can piece things together, which allows me to have a different view on things, but the ability to kind of mimic and, work alongside of people and really kind of pick up and watch what they do. I'm able to do that fairly quickly to get up to speed.
Smart.
A lot faster than most.
Yeah, instead of starting from zero and trying to figure everything out yourself,
Yeah.
seeing what's working, mimic that. I mean, like you're saying, even with LinkedIn, that's what you did. Now, for developers who might be watching, I actually have a bunch of them in my network. If they want to connect with you, where should they go? Because I know so many of them, and they're brilliant people, but they really struggle with making money. They struggle with getting clients and getting paid for their work. So where can they connect with you?
They can connect with me on LinkedIn. Right now, we have a website that we just kind of spun up. I mean, we're only 4 weeks old or 4 weeks into this. So that's still kind of a work in progress. We do have a lead form for anyone that's interested on the website, hivemind.miami. You can go there, fill it out, any type of questions, but also just reach out on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn at least for about an hour and a half in the mornings. And then I'll do about another hour in the evenings for any comments or any feedback or conversations. I did get to where I spent a little too much time on it for a while. I spent 5 or 6 hours a day on it, and it got to be a lot. But yeah, I mean, feel free to reach out. One of 4 of us are always there to have a conversation. So.
Very good. Yeah, and I know it's actually you on LinkedIn. You're not using AI for that. That's you. You're doing your own commenting. You're answering your inbox, and that's wonderful. And I think if you can continue that and that authenticity that you have right now on LinkedIn, even while you scale this business and become huge, there'll be something really endearing about that and wonderful. So if that can keep being you, I think that'll be good. And then for anyone else who's interested in learning more, just LinkedIn, is that the best space for you?
Yeah, LinkedIn's the best space. LinkedIn's actually our only space right now. I have this philosophy too, like, do one thing right first and then move on to the next thing. And this is goes for any company. Like, yes, there's tons of social media out there. You can use it all. Just don't try to use it all at the same time because it gets to be a lot. That's kind of my only thing. But yes, LinkedIn, feel free to reach out. I'm on there. I actually have notifications that are fed into my email every day. Gets to be a little bit of annoying, but it allows me to kind of manage if there's any pertinent questions and stuff to come in. I will be putting a new phone on the website, so if anybody needs to reach us by phone or just wants to have a conversation, they can also, on my LinkedIn page, they can book an appointment anytime they want. 30 minutes, I don't charge for any meetings, regardless of what side it's on. So
wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming on. You're really inspirational. I think people are going to learn a lot from you just on this podcast alone, but also by following you. So go follow Joe, and thank you guys. Thanks for showing up and listening.